Okay, I'm going to do one of my reflections series. I'm going to do one with Westrice here, and he's an old school NA player. And so I want to start actually in the old school of League of Legends, because people only know the seasons now, the people who are new fans. You know, like, oh, there was season 2, there was season 1.
Yeah.
But way back in the day, it seems like nearly all the top players were actually just people who went to the top of solo queue and then they became a pro player. And if you look at all the rosters, it's almost like musical chairs. Like one person leaves this roster, he joins another one, then he joins another. It was like the same 30 players just rotating through all the teams.
Yeah.
Was it a really small scene back then? Was it a big game?
It was a really small scene. Like in solo queue, everyone just like knew each other. Like maybe everyone above like 1900 elo, everyone knew each other, and we always play with each other and stuff like that. Like me and Reginald always get the same game. Me and Hotshot always get the same game. It's like everyone just knew each other. So it was a very small scene.
So was it that everyone in a pro team was a high level solo queue player? Were there players who didn't have like super sick mechanics, but they were already just in teams as team players? What was it like back then?
Most pro players are picked up from solo queue. There's just they see the performances off like popular streams like Hotshot GG used to stream. Like that's how I got picked up. Like I was playing Kale and I was doing very well against Hotshot like over and over and over again. And then, you know, TSM approached me and stuff like that. And yeah.
So since you mentioned Hotshot GG, the strange thing is, someone who's a modern day fan who's only followed the game for a year and a half, they'll think Hotshot GG sucks because they remember the end of his career and everyone's like, when's he going to retire? Like, he needs it. But I've heard, when I look back in time, he was supposed to be like, at one point, maybe the best top laner. Is this accurate? What was he good at? What changed, do you think?
I guess his drive to win sort of like went away, and I guess his favorite champions aren't really that good anymore, or they changed it. And I don't know. I think like managing like CLG was also like a really big pressure in his life, so they had to do like some part of it. But I obviously don't know the details, but yeah, stuff like that.
When I think of some of the players who were considered top players in top lane before, so like Hotshot GG's one, and people always said like aside from Nidalee, he was famous for tanks and stuff like that. Then we had like Voyboy, who was at his best when it was like all assassins that you could play there. Mm-hmm. What was it like in the first couple of years? What was like season 1 and season 2? Like, how would you describe the champion pool for top? Like, what did you play?
Well, to begin with, like I didn't really play top lane in season 1. I played AD carry season 1, but for top lane, it's usually like a mage or like a AD carry and like another AD carry middle or a mage middle. And then it used to have like a roamer bottom, like an Alistar, Blitzcrank, Taric, those roamers, and like a farmer bottom, like a tank bottom. And then like the meta just changed so quickly after season 1. Like after we saw what the Europeans did, we started picking up on that. And then that's when like NA, they started picking up tanks top, AP mages middle, and AD carry and support bottom. That's when it all happened in season 1, or the beginning of season 1. But before that, NA people were just doing whatever they want.
So one of the interesting things when I looked back on like the Leaguepedia entry for you was that on your old team Epic, you actually had Doublelift playing for you at the time, but he wasn't like an old AD carry, he wasn't some like superstar player. And then after that, you played against him when he was in Curse for a little while. Everyone knows Doublelift now, and they think like, oh, he's like a superstar, his mechanics are so sick, like he has so many fans. Was he actually even good before he joined CLG? How did he play?
When I played with Doublelift, he was the support for our player. Like he's playing support and I'm playing AD carry, but we weren't laning with each other. Like AD carries played in middle back then, so I was AD carry in the mid lane, and then he was supporting bot lane with Dyrus. Like Dyrus was on my team too, and then his mechanics were actually really good. Like I thought his Janet was godlike, like because he like flashes typhoons and blows everyone in, like the right places, and so I thought his mechanics was really good. But we didn't really want him anymore because he's like he tries to make too many plays as a support player, which is good, but like it wasn't good at the time with like certain champions. He makes plays with like Soraka and stuff. Like, but yeah, and then he switched to AD carry, and people like revolved team comps around him, and it just worked out for CLG. So,
the storyline people always give when he joined CLG is like, oh, Choster like trained him how to play AD carry.
Oh, that too.
Was there really a big difference from when he played before and then when he joined with Choster?
Yeah, a lot of people didn't think Doublelift was too good on Curse or COG in the beginning, but like people thought Doublelift was pretty bad like early in COG, but like when him and Choster started playing with each other, like he just became like a mechanical god, and like his knowledge just like showed, you know.
The strange thing about the Epic team is like when I look at your results, like at the end of 2011, the results are really good. Like you're coming second at all these tournaments. But then what's strange is it's like there's always one team that can stop you, like obviously in the final. So it's like CLG, then TSM, then Dignitas. Like why could Epic Gamer never just be the best NA team? What do you think?
Yeah, for a while people thought Epic was the best NA team, but we always ended up getting second in every single tournament. Like we beat every single team, like maybe MLG Raleigh, we got second place against, we'll beat CLG and then we lost to TSM. And then another tournament, we beat TSM, but we lost to CLG. It's just like over and over again. We just kept getting second place. But I don't know, it's just, that's what we were actually known for, like the second place team forever.
Because the strange thing is, when you see all these really good results, when I look at all the other teams back then, these are all the teams that are like the legendary NA teams, like CLG, TSM, Dignitas. Yeah. All these teams still exist today. Most of them are still pretty good today. Why did Epic not just continue on as a team? Why did it fraction apart? What happened?
Epic wasn't really an organization. It was just a team full of players. Like TSM was an organization, so was CLG. Epic was just 5 guys just playing together. We didn't have a coach or a manager or stuff like that. Or Epic wasn't even a sponsor. It was just a name we made up. So we just, yeah, we didn't really have anything to like manage us. So people just went off and did their own thing. We didn't have a schedule and stuff like that. Yeah.
When one of the people it seems like was the key for leaving Epic was when Dyrus left, because he went off to TSM and then they won all these tournaments. Yeah. Since you played with Dyrus before TSM, can you give me an idea on what is your perspective on like what was he like as a player when you played with him? Then when he joined TSM, what do you think his impact on the team was?
Yeah, like I noticed this a lot, but like some players, they perform so much better on different teams. Like when Dyrus played on my team, I thought he was pretty mediocre. Like he's a good top laner, but he never really did anything special. But when he went to TSM, like his consistency showed, you know, like he never really loses lane, but he never really wins either. He just holds his own lane, which is like what a top laner is supposed to be, you know, and it showed really well. Yeah. But him switching teams really showed his true colors, you know. Same thing with double lift.
Since you play top lane and these guys, like Dyrus, like you said, he switched from the position he used to play to the top lane. You got to play with him, and then you got to play against him when he was in TSM, and then you got to play against Voyboy when Voyboy was in Dignitas. How would you describe the two players? Like, what were their strengths? What was different about them?
Dyrus and Voyboy? Dyrus is definitely a more consistent player. If you have like a playmaker middle or bottom lane that carries, then Dyrus is a good player to have. But if you have like a passive AD carry or passive mid laner, then a good aggressive top laner like Voyboy is good to have. Like they definitely have different play styles, but if you see like if Dyrus and Voyboy switch teams, I don't think either of them will do as well as their team they're in right now. So, because like Cop plays more passive and Voyboy plays aggressive, and CLG or not CLG, TSM Wild Turtle plays really aggressive and Dyrus plays passive. So like it gives the jungler an easier time on who to gank. Like he doesn't need to go to Dyrus' lane to help him. Like Dyrus can hold himself. He just carries, or not carries. He helps out Wild Turtle, and Curse helps out Voyboy.
So if we use the same logic then and apply,
well, I'm sorry, Kloss now, but yeah.
If I applied the same logic to your career, then what style of play is best for Westrice? And if you think of the different teams you played on, which ones like were good in that sense? Like they had the whatever other style you need in the other players. How would you define your career in that sense?
I think I performed better when I was AD carry back then, but then I moved to Curse, and I don't think I played as well because there was like internal conflict, and when there's bad vibes in the team, people don't perform well. Yeah, and then when I moved to TBD, I thought I played a lot much better, or like much better, and we played really very well. Like Broken Shard helps me in my lane all the time, but yeah.
When you joined up with Curse, like initially, you guys had Saint Vicious was your jungler before they had Voyboy, obviously. So when you had Saint as your jungler, the thing is when he was in CLG, and that was when Hotshot was like maybe going downhill a bit. It sounds like it did, like part of what made them good when he was in that team was like he had a good synergy with Hotshot. Like they knew how to play, and like Saint kind of babysat Hotshot a bit and like helped him keep his lane going, etc. What was it like when Saint was in your team? How did he work with you? What was like the system you had in place?
Usually the plan was to have Saint Vicious camp mid and bottom instead of top lane. Like he only camps top lane when I play like a certain champion, like Darius or something like that. But when something like that doesn't happen, like if Saint doesn't go top to help me, if I'm playing Darius, then things aren't gonna go well. Like if I play something pretty safe like Renekton, it would have been fine. But my playstyle doesn't really fit with Curse because Saint doesn't really like camping top lane, I guess. But also like chemistry-wise, it's not very good. So
this is something that I've seen with a lot of top laners. Like I think sometimes top laners don't get enough credit because what happens is if they're like a Voyboy type person and they're beating everyone one-on-one, then it looks awesome, like, oh, they can just carry on their own. But for other players, if they're not like a Dyrus style who can just go even and play very safe, then it feels like unless the jungler is going to come and help them, then they can get snowballed really easy. And so they're going to look really bad on the games they lose.
yeah.
What do you think for your style of play you need from the jungler?
Depends what champions I play. Like I play mostly assassins, but I can also play tanks. But when I play tanks, we're focusing on Arthelon getting fed. But when I'm playing like assassins, sometimes I play mid lane or sometimes I play top lane. Like I switch lanes once in a while. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Like what style of jungler do you think you need? Like what do you need from the jungler to make you good?
An aggressive jungler that communicates well with me. Like Broken Shard, he's very vocal and it's easy to talk to him. Like the kind of person that I would go out with to hang out outside of the game would be a good jungler.
Okay.
Like good chemistry and aggressive playstyle, and then yeah.
Since like I described there, if the jungler isn't going to come, then the player knows like, oh, he's stuck out on an island, and if it goes wrong, his whole lane's going to get snowballed. I once heard Wicked, the European top laner, describe it like he thinks that when you play that position, the top lane, you have to play imagining like there was no enemy jungler. Like you can't be worried that like, oh, if I attack them, he's going to be just there and he's going to gank me immediately. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that, but it really depends on what champion you're playing. Like you can't be doing that when you're not someone like Renekton. Like Renekton can just run away when the jungler comes, so it's pretty safe to do that with Renekton. But like certain champions, like say Rumble, like you can't run away. If you get caught like pushing to the top turret from blue side, then you're gonna die. but when their jungler does come top, it's usually a good thing because like a certain time in the game when like maybe 8 to 10 minutes when Dragon is a big factor, like if the jungler does come top, then your team can just go straight to Dragon and it'll be a win for sure. So like them coming top lane, I definitely agree with this theory, but it doesn't really apply to everything, you know? Like early in the game, no, definitely no, you need to play safer, but like maybe later on to the game, yeah, you always want to keep the lane pushed up.
So when you were on these bigger teams before, and people will know like your style of play and they'll have watched you play, to describe how you play now, can you give us like a reference of like another pro player at the moment who plays like Westrice style? Who do you think now plays the style that you play?
It feels like there's like a few people. I mean, I don't feel like anyone's like me because I play mid and top, like back and forth. But if you want to relate someone that plays just like me, I'd probably say, I forgot his name.
Which team?
I'm trying to remember. He's in the challenger scene. Oh, Inox.
Inox.
Like,
he's in EG, yeah.
Yeah. It feels like before he went on EG, he played the exact same champions as I did. Like we both played Riven, we both played Renekton, we both played like all the same champions. And we also dislike the same champions. Like we both know how to play Mundo, but we don't like playing it. You know, we like playing the carry top laners. But yeah, that's about it.
When you said like you can play mid and top, this was actually something where I think maybe a few months back, people kept saying like, oh, this is going to be the new style because there was like a champion pool shared between some of these players because obviously assassins could be played at both. And there was a famous example where the two star top laners in Korea, Shy and Flame, there was this rumor that they'd make a super team, and that was the idea. They'd play top and mid, and then whoever's champion was up for each position, that's how they'd decide who'd play it, you know. And it sounds on paper like that would be really good because how could the enemy know which you're going to pick and who's going to play where? If you do it now, why are you one of the only people who does it? Why don't the other top laners, mid laners try it?
I guess it's something we try to like we use. I mean, we wanted to be versatile, you know, because like Arthelon, like he loves playing Mundo, so we let him play Mundo, and I love playing like Kha'Zix, so I play Kha'Zix, so I go mid and he goes top. But I guess like in the end, that's not really good because like top lane mentality, it doesn't really pass on to mid lane mentality, and it's a completely different lane. So like in the end, like after the tournament, I don't think we'll be doing that anymore. So yeah, it's just something we tried out, but it didn't really work in the end.
When I looked up some of your results when you were in Curse, there was a tournament, IPL Face-Off, the one in San Francisco, where you guys came second.
Yeah.
And what's strange is you guys lost in like the first round to Singapore Sentinels, but then you beat all these people in the lower bracket, including World Elite, who was like this amazing Chinese team. Yeah. How could you lose to Singapore Sentinels but beat World Elite?
I honestly don't remember how that happened. No, I think we were winning. We won the first game and then we lost the next two games. I'm not sure what happened, honestly. I think all I remember is St. Vicious playing in Moo. That's about it. But yeah, but we did pretty good that tournament afterwards.
Was that some sort of strange tournament then that you just won all the way through the lower bracket to the final?
I guess we won because we used the element of surprise. Like we beat World Elite because we pulled out Darius twice in a row and they didn't really know how to deal with it. Okay. So like this is a champion that they've never played against before and they kind of underestimated it, I believe. But yeah.
By the end of the year, like we all remember at the end of the year, there was IPL 5 and World Elite were just like crushing everyone there. Yeah. Back then, when you beat them there, were they just not as good then? Do you think like they hadn't had experience? What do you think?
People thought World Elite would win. Like they thought World Elite was still very strong. I guess in a way it was a huge upset and it was a big victory for us.
You kept describing like in some of these answers, like, oh, the Curse style never really worked for me. Like it wasn't like the right setup in terms of some of the other players, etc. You still had like the second at that tournament. You had top 4 at the regionals where you almost got into the World Championships. Yeah. Do you look back on the Curse period? Like, was it a good period in your career? Do you wish you'd gone a different? Like, should you have joined a different type of team?
I mean, I don't regret like joining Curse in the first place because in the beginning it actually went very well. Like we synergized well together. Like me and Saint we synergized very well early on when we lived in San Francisco. But when we moved to LA. And we started playing more together. Like things went downhill from there. Yeah, people started tilting, or especially me. But
after when obviously it makes sense why when they got a chance to sign Voyboy, who was like considered like a star player. Okay, it makes sense that you'd be moved from Curse then. Yeah. But after that, I'm sure you must have had chances where you could have joined like the 4th best team, or the 5th best team, or the 6th best. Like there must have been chances. Why did you just sort of disappear for a little while?
I wanted to make my own team with Salsi because I thought Salsi was a very good player at the time. I felt like he was very, very underrated and no one really saw him as a good player. Or everyone did see him as a good player, but he didn't really have the drive to win. So in the end, I didn't end up going with him. So I just made like a challenger team. And at the time, like there were very good top laners in NA already. So I was pretty sure I couldn't replace anybody. Oh, okay. So I was just going to stay in the challenger team for a little bit and see how things go.
So when you say you couldn't replace him, you just mean in terms of like the spots were already taken? Like skill-wise, could you have done it?
At the time, I'm not sure who was like. I'm pretty sure all the top laners were very good. Like, I'm definitely not replacing like someone like Darius or something like that. But yeah, like especially after like a really bad tournament, you know, you don't want to show your face for a while. You know, it's pretty sad.
How would you describe Salsa then? Because he's another name that was always around the early part of the scene, but then he disappeared as well. And I've heard from some people like maybe he had motivation issues or something.
That's actually that's pretty much it. Like he has motivation issues. He has a very social. I think he has a social life too. So and he always like this one time we had a very important tournament for IEM Cave qualifiers, and instead of playing that, he went to go play volleyball with his friends. So that was that was a big deal. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure he likes his life right now. So I don't think he needs to go back to the game.
So what is the situation for you right now? Like you were with this team now, and obviously like the run up to qualifying now is quite a long time. You have to play all these tournaments to get into a position to have a chance to qualify. Are you going to do this again for the next season? Like, is it like a dream again to like, oh, I want to be an LCS player, I want to be a top player again? Like, do you just do it on the side? What was your plan right now?
I'm not sure at this point, honestly. Yesterday was like the biggest thing, and then we tilted really hard. But I'm not really sure what I'm going to do right now. So I'm still thinking about that. I'll think about it like during Christmas break. So
I think coming into that match, people had no clue what to make of the Evil Geniuses lineup, because on one hand, people wanted to say, I mean, I think I'm a Cutie Pie said some stupid comment like, oh, since they're like the rejects of EG, then if they do well, then it means NA must really suck or something. And so people thought like, how will they do without like Frog and Wicked, these guys? What did you make of them? Like, had you scrimmed them before? What were you expecting from it?
The thing was, we only scrimmed them once, but that was like a month or 1 or 2 months ago, and I think, yeah, 1 or 2 months ago, I'm not sure, but they never really showed anything either. Like we don't have any replays of them because they don't play in any tournaments. Like they don't show anything. So, but they have a lot on us since we play NACO like every single day of the week, and we play all these like tournaments online. That's being streamed and stuff like that. In a way, that's good for practice, but we're like showing stuff too. So we didn't really have an advantage over EG, but when we scrimmed them, we did like crush them. But so we kind of underestimated them by a lot. And Broken Shard coming from Europe, we followed his lead and we just underestimated him. That's all. And we came in cold and didn't work out.
Some of the amateur players, because they've never played in a pro team, they're not so well known by fans. So how would you describe Inox as a player then? Because some people will have never seen him before this tournament.
Inox played surprisingly well for his first LAN event, but I'm pretty sure the 3 Evil Genius members like told him like how he should play and how Wicked plays and how he should play. Like Inox is definitely a good player, so I'm pretty sure he can adapt to it, and I'm pretty surprised on how well he did.
Another team that people expected to have a chance to qualify was obviously Quantic, the all-Korean team. And the storyline everyone says is that, oh, like they had lag from the internet cafe and that's why they didn't qualify, etc. What were they actually like in practice? Were they as good as everyone made them out to be?
In practice, they were actually very good. Like they took more games off us than we took off them, but they weren't godlike or anything. Like,
how would they have compared to like real LCS teams in NA?
I'd probably place them like 5th or 4th, 5th, 4th, or 6th around there. They were a pretty good team, but it was unfortunate what happened to him.
People always said that it was their top laner was one of their best players.
Yeah, Apple was really good.
What was he good at? What kind of champions did he play?
He didn't play any assassin. He played mainly tanks, but he was a huge impact on the game. Like if you try to gank him, he knows exactly what to do. He times everything. He knows exactly when the jungler's about to gank, and he knows exactly where to be. Like if his team's trying to pressure dragon, then he'll start proxying top lane, and he's gonna distract you. Yeah, Apple was just a great player. I think he's one of the best top laners I played against.
If you think of like your whole career, was there a moment where you're like, that was my absolute peak? Like I was like not only just individually good, but like in terms of relative to my peers of who was playing the same position, that was when I was at my best. When would you pick out what tournament, what period of time, what team?
I'd probably say Season 1 Epic days when I played AD carry, and the past 2 months when I was playing on TBD. Like TBD, I've been playing consistently well for a while, like, because there was no bad blood in the team. There's always good vibes, and like when there's no pressure on me, I play a lot better. But you know.
Since you were around since the beginning, I want you to just like a hypothetical. I want you to pick out 2 players for me. So I want you to pick someone where in the early days you were like, I didn't even think that guy was good, and he turned out to be really good, and then vice versa. There was someone where at the time he looked really good, and then he never really made it, you know, he never had such a great career. Who would you pick for each?
I think the obvious one is probably Doublelift. Like, no one really thought Doublelift was very good. Like, people agreed that he was a very good player. Like, and then he joined CLG and they saw potential in him. So,
sure.
They saw potential and they were right about him. And he went places. And for the person that we thought was good, I mean, I wouldn't really say a hot shot, but I'm not too sure about that one, actually. I'd probably say Salsi.
Salsi?
Like, Salsi definitely had the potential, but he never really went for it, you know? Like, it was there in front of him, but he just took a different path.
When I look at the different seasons and how the NA teams did, and so in Season 1, NA might have been the best overall, and then in Season 2, it was like NA and EU, and then the Koreans, and then started to come in towards the end, and now everyone just says like Korea, China, they're like the best or whatever.
Yeah.
Some people, as a theory as to why that would be that NA was good early on, say like, oh, well, NA was good when the meta was you just played your lane, you just tried to win 1v1 versus that guy, and as a team, it was more like just every man for himself. There wasn't such like strategy and tactics. Is this too simple a theory? Is there anything to it, do you think?
Can you say that last part again? Sorry.
Like Like, do the other regions have better team fighting or better strategy overall? And was NA better when it was just everyone only focusing on his own game, tunneling on his own game? What do you think?
Well, that's like solo queue mentality when you play for your own lane. Like, people usually pick champions for the team comp, but if you're focused on the early game, people pick for their lanes. So like, top lane usually gets last pick or mid lane gets last pick because they want to make sure they win their lane so they can win the early game. But for people that go late game, like Nasus, middle, and people that go Rod of Ages, they're aiming for late game. So they kind of expect to lose early on, like not die, but like lose on some CS, but drag on late game and eventually win the game, like Tristana as well. And NA, or I think everyone in different regions have the same mechanical skills. Everyone's mechanically the same, like Korea, NA, but like when it comes to Korea, it feels like their communication is a lot better and they have better discipline and their work habits are a lot better than NA. And when it comes to serious like matches, they're very serious about it, and the communications, they group up and their team fighting is godlike. And NA, they sort of play for themselves most of the time. And when it comes to team fights, obviously they try to do that, but I think Korea and Asian teams are just like one step ahead in that.
If I think of a lot of the really good like Season 2 top laners, even some of the Koreans like Maknoon and people like Reaped, some of these guys can't even play that position anymore, or they fell off a bit, and it looks like one of the problems is like the champion pool changed so radically for top lane. And so we got this era where it was all tanks and bruisers, and it was like Renekton, and everyone just playing the same ones over and over.
Yeah.
Is there something different about top lane where you really have to only play like the OPs and the counters to the OPs? You can't just play anything you want like an assassin if you just want to?
Like 90% of the time you should pick tanks because top lane is just to make sure you don't feed and don't like lose your turret. Like so champions that have like very good wave clear and very tanky like Shyvana, Munda, Renekton, they're all tanky. They can run away and they push like crazy. So those are the really good champions for top lane. And for assassins, you only pick those very situational. That's why I don't like picking it early. You've got to pick it last. Or you can just use the middle. But yeah, that's like the nature of top lane right now. That's the meta.
Does playing those tanky champions require some different type of skills? Because like some of those players I mentioned, like Maknoon, Reaper, these were like super skilled, like mechanical skill players, people who knew a lot about the game. But it seemed like when you forced them to play tank, they weren't as good. Even I've seen like Shy, who was considered the best. I've seen sometimes if he has to only play Shen, then somebody's not as effective. What do you think about, is there some different mentality to playing those champions?
It's a very straightforward like mindset. Like you only think about one thing, is to not die and make sure your lane's push. That's about it. And just be there for the team. You're a team player. You're basically the support of the team, but you're a tank. You can't really do much damage. You can't really outplay the other opponent because you won't, because you're only doing one thing, just pushing the lane and make sure you don't die. That's basically it.
In your era of when you were on the biggest teams, that was before really everyone acknowledged that Asia was the best. Yeah. So are you someone who actually, since then, has watched much of the Korean League of Legends? Do you take anything from them? What do you think of that?
The Korean scene? I like watching Maknoon play. Like whenever I watch him play, he plays very well, and then during his interviews, he's very passionate about it, and like he's very humble, and he talks about like what his mindset was. Like this one time I learned from him that like you only proxy the lane like he started playing Renekton first and people started picking it on. He played Renekton and he started proxying behind the turret, and he did that to distract the jungler so the jungler can come there and gank him, and while his team gets ready to take dragon right when he comes to the top lane. So that's one thing I learned like a few months ago. Yeah, and Koreans are smart.
So the people who are still considered like the star players at top lane in NA, like Dyrus has obviously always been there,
yeah.
But then it used to be Voivod, but now he switched to mid. And now it seems like of all the other top laners, a lot of them just seem like similar level. It's hard to pick out like a star or someone who's really above the rest.
Yeah.
Who to you are the best in NA at the moment in top lane, and why?
Right now? I'd probably give it to Dyrus still, because he's very consistent, and I'd probably give the next one to Quas. Quas just came from the challenger scene, and he knows how to make them plays, and he's been like a threat in the challenges team for a while, and he's showing it. But I'm not too sure how he performs in LAN, so let's see how it goes, I guess.
One of the names where people wanted to suggest him was Nian Tonso, because he joined CLG and he was just learning how to play top run, and he kept saying in interviews like, one day I'll be a world-class top laner, and like I'm going to be so, like, it sounds like standard CLG stuff, like saying how good you're going to be. But the problem is, when he went to IEM Cologne, he got like really badly embarrassed by Soaz in the top lane.
Oh, yeah.
And then this tournament here, Kevin, alternate, kind of beat him up a bit.
Yeah.
If I like had a gun against your head and I told you in 1 year from now, will Nian Tonso be like the best top laner in any? Will he be like a world-class top laner? What would you say?
I'd probably say he's a better AD carry by far.
Okay.
And like his potential like is all gone since he switched to top lane, because I think he was better than Doublelift at AD carry.
Oh, why do you
like,
think so?
Like before he joined CLG.
Yeah, why?
His mechanics are like godlike. His decision making is godlike. He was just like Doublelift, except without the Chaucer skull. But yeah, Nian was really good, and I thought he was a very good AD carry player back then. But then he switched to top lane, and it didn't seem like his style. It's sort of like Salsi was a really good mid laner, and then he went top lane, and then he didn't really know how to play it. Like he seemed lost, you know. And then so he went back to middle, and it feels like it's happening to Nian too a little bit.
Okay, so for my last question, I'm going to do like a hypothetical imaginary question. It'll sound weird though, the setup, so just go with it, okay?
Okay.
So for some reason, like the mafia or someone has like you, all your family, everyone you love, and they tell you like, listen, we're going to kill everyone unless the player that you pick in a League of Legends game to play top lane can win the game. So whoever you pick, and it can be anyone from history who is a top lane player, like they have to be clutch. They have to win this one game because everyone's life depends on it. Who would you pick? Who in history is like that's
anyone in the world?
Yeah.
I'd probably give it to Flame or Soaz.
Why?
I've like Soaz always whips like random stuff out and it always works. Like everything he does is a really good play. Or every champion he plays, he makes it look really good. You know, like he was the first one to play Lissandra top. He makes it look really good. He does everything. And then Flame is also pretty much the same case. He plays like very unconventional champions and always seems to work. So I've never seen, or they lose lanes obviously, but they win like 95% of the time. That's what it feels like, or every time I watch them. And yeah, there's a reason why they're on the top tier team.
Do you have like a final message? Do you want to thank anyone or say hello to anyone at the end of the interview?
Yeah, obviously I want to thank my mom for like always supporting me and being there for me. And all my fans that watch my streams all the time, and I know I'm not there for you guys all the time, but you know, I'm here now, so thanks for watching.